Injury updates and boosts coming in the midfield. We're going to give you the latest on all of that. Carlos Baleba playing well again for Cameroon. Of course, AFCON, the Premier League, there is a difference there. But at Brighton, he's playing like he doesn't want to be there. At Cameroon, he's playing in a three at the back system, dropping deep, collecting the ball in build up, which is basically what we're crying out for in midfield, and balling it out for Cameroon. And I just think Brighton need to let him go to Man United. Like, please, Brighton, just let him go to Man United. He does not want to be with you. He's got Man United in his head because he's playing like mad for Cameroon. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Man United looking at Manu. Kone, more links to Manu Kone. And why is this relevant? Well, he plays for Roma. Zirkzee set to go to Roma. Zirkzee's head is in Roma. We know from Romano, Zirkzee, personal terms, Roma agreed. We know that Roma have put in a loan offer of an obligation to buy. We know that from Romano. We know that from reliable sources. United are waiting until after AFCON to accept Roma's offer. The assumption is they will accept Roma's offer. Zirkzee has agreed personal terms with Roma, but who knows? Injuries could happen. But could Manu Kone be involved the other way? And Leny Yoro. Leny Yoro is a talent. Leny Yoro is a star. And some people in the fan base are writing him off already. He's young. To have a dip in form when you're that age in the Premier League for an unsustainable team is very normal. But there's a very talented player in Leny Yoro, and we've got some updates on him, how he's working hard, and more. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your Manchester United 10-minute roundup show. If you're new to the channel, every single day on the channel, I do a 10-minute video rounding up all the news. I know I'm talking fast, but let's get into it. Potential injury return dates for the following players. Mason Mount should and could and hopefully will be back for the Wolves game. He was feeling something. Ruben Amorim didn't want to take a risk in the second half. He said, I need you. I don't want to get more injuries. Boom. Bruno expected back January 2026. Bruno only expected to be out for a month. There's a feeling he could be back for the City game. They're not putting an exact time on it. They don't think he'll be back in the next 2 weeks, but they think he could be back for the Manchester City game, which is the 17th of January. Fingers crossed. But do not rush back Bruno Fernandes. I don't want Bruno to be rushed back, get injured and miss 3 months. I'd rather Bruno miss another 2 weeks more than we thought he could miss, and he's fit to the end of the season, than rushing him back. And Mano could be back versus Wolves, but it's a bit of a stretch. He could be on the bench. If he's not ready for Wolves, they believe he'll be fine for Leeds. I really hope he's okay for Wolves. I think we need him versus Wolves. But again, I don't want to rush Mano back if we don't think he's ready. Have him for Leeds, because I think we should be able to beat Wolves with all the injuries we've got. I know that Wolves have given Liverpool a tough game and Arsenal a tough game, but they're so bad. I don't want to say too many bad things about Wolves, because there's a part of me that's like, we could lose to them and it'll get clipped up, but they're so bad. Brighton, you've got to let this guy free. Carlos Baleba having another great game for the Cameroon against the Ivory Coast. And you've also got to remember with this that he was on a yellow card from like the 10th minute, and he still had a very, very good game. Then he clearly must take Brighton for not letting him go, because he'd just been crap for Brighton. He goes to AFCON and he's fantastic. That was a joke when I said Baleba must take Brighton for not letting him go. But look, he puts on a Cameroon shirt and he's back playing to his best. I'm not saying that he's going to come to Man United and start balling out in the Premier League and it was just Brighton. I do have concerns around Baleba because he's been very poor this season, and I do worry about his mentality. The links to Man United have got in his head. Has he got the mindset to play for Man United? I have concerns around Baleba. I would take Elliot Anderson over Baleba right away. But Baleba had a very good game for Cameroon against the Ivory Coast. Baleba's had 2 very good games for Cameroon at AFCON. Of course, the competition isn't as high, and he's playing very well when he's playing like he wants to be there. And there is a part of me that thinks his head isn't at Brighton. Brighton should just let him go to Man United, because I think he is what we need, and I think he would be good for us. I know it's a risk. I know he's been poor this season. I wouldn't be spending 100 million, but 60 million, I don't think Brighton would sell him for that little. I would do it, you know. Cameroon playing with 3 at the back, Baleba dropping deep into the middle to receive the ball and start build up. He suits what we want to do. He really does suit what we want to do, and I just feel like he was so good last season that I feel like he can't have just gone crap this season or be a one-season wonder, because we're seeing signs of him for Cameroon, and I just wonder if it's a Brighton thing. I don't know, but then I have concerns around his mentality if the links to Man United have caused him to mentally drop off like this. But I really like Baleba, and I saw this tweet from Robbo. I don't want to force any narratives around the lad, but surely even Brighton must know by now it makes no sense to keep harbouring him for 6 months, if not longer. He looks like a completely different player for Cameroon. I just feel like Brighton are going to act like they don't want to sell him, because they say if they don't want to sell him, that means Man United will have to bid over. Whereas if they say they want to sell him, Man United can underbid. So Brighton are always going to act like they don't want to sell him. But there's a part of me that if I'm at Brighton, I'm thinking, well, maybe we could accept the January offer. Maybe he doesn't want to be it. I don't know. Like, I just feel like if I'm Brighton and I look at him playing for Cameroon, I do think, oh, maybe it's something we should consider. Or maybe Brighton are looking at him playing for Cameroon and saying maybe he can bring that confidence back for him to Brighton. What we do know is this. Manchester United never left the race for Carlos Baleba. He's seen as a top priority in midfield. This has been said by Mr. Fabrizio Romano. He said other stuff like Bayern had interest in Baleba, but there's a feeling he'd pick Man United. Romano's basically saying, we've never left the Baleba race, we still want Baleba, and Man United believe that Baleba will pick them. Even though Bayern had interest, even though other clubs had interest, there's a feeling that Baleba's heart is set on Man United. Elliot Anderson, apparently he's swinging towards City, but open to Man United, like Semenyo was open to United, but swings towards City. Adam Morton, there's a lot of competition. There's a feeling we will get Carlos Baleba. The only problem is, if he does go back to Brighton to the end of the season, I need him to have some good performances for Brighton. Otherwise, I'm going to be put off him in the summer. Now, there's one player that really excites me from outside the Premier League that isn't Baleba, Morton and Anderson, and that is Manu Kone. I think Manu Kone is one of the few players from outside the Premier League that I think could fill that kind of gap quite well in midfield. And considering we're having talks with Roma for Zirkzee, I think it's worth trying for Manu Kone. And it looks like Man United might be. United are evaluating options this January if they decide to move for a midfielder. Names being looked at include Garner, Manu Kone, and Leon Goretzka, but as things stand, no club-to-club negotiations. Leon Goretzka, absolutely not what we need. James Garner, I'm open to it as a third-choice midfielder on a cheap. I think he's a good player, but he doesn't come in and massively improve that starting 11. Manu Kone is the best name on that list by a while. Man United are looking at Manu Kone. Man United might be ready to make a Manu Kone move. They've been evaluating Manu Kone. We know from Graham Bailey they've been scouting Manu Kone. Manu Kone has got to be popping up on Man United's radar right now as an opportunity. Now, there is obviously reports, and I don't think this is the most reliable, that it's not news, but there's a credible rumour that he'll leave Roma in June to join Man United. They don't know if it has anything to do with a Zirkzee deal, but he's very keen on Man United, and that would suggest that Man United, you have been looking at Kone and are ready to make a move for Kone if true. I would just rather Kone come in January than June, because I think we have an opportunity this season to maybe sneak Champions League football with the clubs around us dropping off. So I would rather us go and get someone like Manu Kone and just spend that 10 million more in January, because that could be 7-8 more points at the end of the season, which could be the difference between playing in the Conference League and the Champions League. And I know I'd much rather be in the Champions League than the Conference League, if you get me. So I would go all out for Manu Kone. There is now reports that Man United might be ready to make a move for Manu Kone. They're looking at him. They've not made club-to-club contact yet, but that could begin. And it's good to know that at least we're looking at Manu Kone. Could it have something to do with Zirkzee's exit? I think so. Joshua Zirkzee considers his time at Manchester United a closed chapter and wants to leave. We know he's agreed personal terms with Roma. His head wasn't really in the last game. I think Zirkzee's pretty much gone, but we're just waiting until after AFCON when the players will return, because I do like Zirkzee, and I do think there's a good player in Zirkzee, but I don't think he suits what we want to do. I do think he could have been used and utilised more, and I think he's realised that, and he's like, yeah, I've got to go to Roma, I've got to get in this World Cup squad. Italy's where it's at for me. And then last but not least, Yoro. Now, I think Yoro's a fantastic player. He's getting a bit of slander, but I think he's a fantastic player. Fantastic potential. Maybe fantastic potential. He was a fantastic player last season for us. He did really well. I look at Yoro and I see fantastic potential, is how I would describe Yoro. I think there could be a fantastic player in there. And he has had a slight dip in form. People are giving him a bit of stick, and I think the stick is going a bit overboard. He's very young. And look, it's just come out and been said that United have acknowledged a slight dip in form, but they haven't got concern. It's his age. It's normal. Any consistency is seen as normal. Any inconsistency is seen as normal development. It's not a warning sign. We saw enough of Leny Yoro last season to know he's a good player. He had about 16, 17 good games in a row last season. He was so key. We rushed him back for the Europa League final. We've seen enough of Yoro to know he's a good player. His work ethic is highly rated at Carrington. He's been doing extra gym sessions, extra this, extra that. I think it's confidence. I think some of it is mental. I think some of it is confidence. There's a good player in Leny Yoro. He's had a slight dip in form. Fans are giving him a stick. It's 10 times harder as a young kid playing for Man United, because you read all this crap about you online. It knocks your confidence even more. And look, for me, I think there's a good player in Yoro, and I'm glad to know that he's working hard. Let me know your thoughts down below on all the latest Man United news. I also will say that Ahmad got man of the match again for the Ivory Coast, balling out on the right wing. I will be back tonight with a live stream or 10-minute roundup video. See you then. Bye.